Hello again, Mark Morris, hosting Along the Rock, our podcast here, and my guest is a teacher. And I'll tell you, Ben Snow, as I just told you before we started recording, I love talking to teachers, number one, because you know they're not shy and they can talk, they have to do it every day. But anyway, thanks for coming up.
Thanks for having me here, I'm super excited.
Yeah. The State Representative Brad Fritts has named you the 2023-2024 Educator of the Year in his district. Why are you so special?
I can go through a couple things that I think it is. I think really what it comes down to is the job for me isn't a job. I'm one of those lucky people, and not a lot of people can say this. I beat my alarm clock when I wake up. I've had very rare days that I go home upset, and I have very few days that I dread going to work. And because of that, I like to make the classroom as exciting for the kid as it is for me. Because if I'm waking up with that feeling, I want them to have a similar feeling.
Sure.
So I think that's part of it. And really the reality of the situation is I'm not going to get there without a good team. I had great administrators the last few years. I've had a great team of colleagues that have helped me. We've made an aura, we've made a bond, we made a place that we're having fun as colleagues, and that drips down to those kids, because if they see us having fun, they're going to join in it. So it's not just me that's doing this, it's a bunch of people that are helping me and recognizing what we can do as a team.
Mm-hmm. Ben Snow teaches at Challen Middle School in Sterling, but you have quite a background in some other places and a number of subjects. Tell us about those.
So my first year teaching, I taught at a great school called Einstein Academy in Elgin. And when I started teaching, my goal was just to get my foot in the door because I love the job. And when I was there, my first year, I taught several classes. I taught high school and middle school history, different classes there, high school, middle school science, psychology. I ended up making a curriculum for a student from Chinese exchange student that didn't speak as much English to get him through the high school class, so I made him his own class. I taught K through 12 PE. And by doing that, you learn how to live on your toes. And, I would never take anything away from those moments because there's times now that, I'm getting, under the gun, I'm busy. But I have the technique, the ideas of how to prioritize what I need to do. I wouldn't have had that without that experience. And also, I always tell kids this, whatever you do, whatever job you do, try to get the toughest jobs first. And so whatever job you land on, you can always go, at least it's not as tough as that one. And so I'm always thankful for that. I had a great team that I worked with. And then after that, I went to a place called St. Edward's Catholic High School in Elgin.
Yeah.
And I did a forensics class, biology class, AP psychology, intro to chemistry, and a few others. And it gave me another bunch of tools in the toolbox. And there, what I learned, I had a great mentor. Mr. Bimmerly took me under his wing, and he taught me things that I've never been taught before. He was a great teacher. I had a great co-teacher who was my competition, Mrs. Brown. Basically, we were kind of constantly one-upping each other.
Okay.
And I would say that is, if you're a teacher out there wondering how to make yourself better, you need to look outside yourself, and you need to find somebody else that's willing to be a competitor. Because if you have a teacher that's teaching the same subject as you, and they're pushing to be better than you, and you're pushing to be better than them, the only one that's going to benefit is the kids. Because you're constantly going, how can I make this fun? How can I make this exciting? How can I make this engaging for the kids? How can I make them succeed? Because I want to be better than them. And this year, for the last 3 years, I have a teacher I work with named Miss Grady. And we have a running competition. She just beat me, by the way, so I'm coming off a loss.
How do you measure that?
So that's good. So every unit that we do, we have the top test takers of that unit. So this last unit was the Civil War. And I have 6 classes. My top test takers will go against each other in a competition, basically a knowledge competition. Mm-hmm. And then my champion of champions faces her champion of champions. And we do this for every test, every unit. And we have a traveling trophy. One year was a trophy I constructed out of Goodwill stuff. It was pretty amazing. Last year was a scarecrow called Jerry. This year, I bought a replica of the United States Heavyweight Championship belt.
Okay.
And so the first competition I won, so I got to wear the belt, it was nice and stuff. My student who won, I didn't win, my student won, but I got to wear the belt too. So sure. The student won, took a picture with him. Every time we do this, the winner gets a picture. We put it on our social media page. And today, I go in there with my champion, which he did a great job. I'm very proud of him. But the other guy he put in that extra time and he beat. And now I get to watch my counterpart, my competition, walk around with that belt. But you know what it's going to do? It's going to push me. And I'm telling you, that competition right there, if you want to be better at anything, find someone to compete against, because that's what I look forward to.
You don't often, at least I don't think so. I've never been a teacher, but it seems to me you wouldn't often see teachers competing like that against each other. Now, I'm guessing, now I don't know how long your original foe had been teaching at that time, or your current foe, but it seems to me it'd be different if you were both youngish teachers as opposed to you as a young teacher and that person as somebody who's just waiting till retirement.
You know, that's a really good point. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm glad you said that I'm a young teacher, because my current competition, she constantly reminds me how much older I am. So I'm 38 and she's like 24, 25.
Oh, okay.
So she is
the
constantly.
other way.
So the fact that you have that on air, I get to show that to her later on, that I'm a young teacher. That's great. You're right though. There is this mentality, not in all as a generalization, but there is a mentality of, how much time do I have on the clock, right? And what I've told teachers, new teachers, because I mentor as many teachers as I can. As a matter of fact, I told my last administrator, give me all the new teachers, because I want to be someone that they can get enthusiasm from. And I always tell new teachers that I work with, watch who you hang out with, because those people that are looking at the clock, that's not why we're here. If I wanted to make money, I wouldn't be a teacher. It's just the reality of the situation.
Sure.
And so if you're going to be a teacher and you want to be a good one, don't be around the people that are focused on that exit. You focus on the people, you hang out with the people that are focusing on the day-to-day. How do I make this lesson better? And because that negativity, it breeds negativity. And it's not just, the older teachers that are negative. You can see negativity everywhere, but
oh, sure.
Always, put yourself in a situation where you're around people that are lifting you up, looking at the positive, being problem solvers. Because if you're around those people that are constantly going, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, you're going to start thinking that way. And I think you're right, though, when it comes to competitions, you got to find some that like-minded person, right? That's willing to lose. And I think that's it
but
too.
Bounce back.
Exactly, absolutely. To be able to bounce back. Yep. Yeah. So I'm definitely lucky with the people I've been around teaching. And like I said, I might have lost this one, but we're coming back, man. That belt's coming back home.
Gotta get the belt polished up. You've taught private school, you've taught public school. Public schools have gotten a lot of bad reps lately, or bad rep, I guess you should say, for one reason or another. You've done both. What are the problems maybe that a public school might have or that a private school might have over the other?
The cost-benefit analysis of both. The one I would say with private that they have is teachers wear a lot of hats. Working in the private school, you're not just teacher. I was a counselor. I was helping with maintenance, and I was helping doing this. Whatever you do, because you just don't have a lot of people on staff, right? So that's kind of the issues they face there. From the public level, it's the volume. You have just more volume of kids, and the other thing is you have kids that don't have those same benefits that you might see in a private school. And when you see kids that are going through things that make you go home at night and look at your kids differently and go, you start realizing how thankful you are for your growing up, how you grew up too.
Sure.
There's just only so much you can do as a teacher in that scenario. I think the other thing too, and this is a big one, is that parental involvement. I'm not even saying support, I mean involvement. With private school, they're involved. I mean, they are. And matter of fact, most private schools, they mandate that teachers are involved. Right now, my daughters are going to private school in DeKalb.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why we're doing that is, well, I'm going to go through that, but one of the things that they mandate is parents must go to parent-teacher conferences. It's not a choice. And I would love to implement that or see that in public schools, but logistically it's just harder. It's harder to manage that. It's harder because it's just the volume. You're dealing with more kids from different angles. And I think that's the biggest obstacle is that, that giant pool of people that you're working with rather than the smaller pool of people from private school.
Sure. Yeah, and if you're going to private school, as you intimated, there's tuition and it's oftentimes very high. So.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Teachers are forced to wear many hats. You told me about the private schools, and I've heard that around here as well. But so are teachers at public schools, and it seems that every year there's something else that the public in general, parents in particular, expect from their teachers. And it seems that sometimes you don't get that parental support. In fact, you get the opposite from a certain number of parents.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
One, you can't take anything personally. So I say that in the sense that when I first started in public school, I faced that wall where like you're reaching out, and you're getting some. Obviously, you're getting some. Like there's a fair part of the population that reaches out. But then when you start calling homes that the phone's been disconnected, or you're leaving messages that never get returned, or whatever the case, what I do is I in my mind go, okay, we don't have that part of the trifecta. The trifecta in my mind is teacher, student, parent, okay? And, well, school, student, parent to be more precise. But if we don't have the parent trifecta, then what can I do at the school? As we were talking about, if I can give a kid 50 minutes of joy, because that's all I see him in a day, because I know when I call home, mom's not there, dad's not there, for whatever reason, I'm gonna give them that 50 minutes of joy. And I'm also going to hold them to an expectation regardless, because what I found out with kids is you lower that bar of expectation, because it's already been lowered sometimes at home, you're not doing them any favors. It's funny how those kids that have that lowered bar at home, when you raise the bar at the school and you hold it, how many want to jump across that bar? Because they haven't been held their feet to the fire as much, and they want it. They might not say they do.
Sure, or admit it.
Exactly, but they truly do want someone to challenge them, and to do it in a way that saves the ego. Because there's one way of dealing with students and trying to be that, I'm the teacher and I'm the boss, never goes well. Rule number one as a teacher, whatever ego you have, it stays in the house. It never comes to school, because those kids are gonna eat that up. So as long as you can do it to save their ego, they're going to do the things that you're going to want them to do, in varying degrees. And I think, again, don't lower the bar. I am a adamant proponent. Kids can do amazing things, but they'll never do them if you don't let them get the chance to. And I think one of the things that I would push with the whole, we talked about the ideas of things that are facing public schools. I want to see public schools to keep a firm bar and raise it. And I think if we start doing that, it's going to be better for society. But what we're going to have to do is we have to get that buy-in. We have to get that buy-in of, my kid might fail. That buy-in that my kid might not get that honors class.
Sure.
Because once we start doing that, those honors classes, that failure, that A, that B, it means more. And I want to see public schools push that a little bit more. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a big change to hope for. You mentioned again earlier talking about teaching in private school, teaching in public school after that. What are some things you learned in teaching in private school? Again, there were various subjects that you can now translate into your teaching at middle school.
I think when I was just talking about the ego part, so in private school, you have a lot more eyes on you, I think, because again, that parental involvement's more. And what happened was when I was there, I realized I need to know my stuff. I need to make sure when I go in there that I can't be 2 chapters ahead of the kids. I have to have the whole textbook up here. And so taking that to public school or wherever I'll teach after this, I need to make sure that I am doing my due diligence to be caught up on the most recent information. Because when that kid comes in, I'm not Alexa, you can't just ask me a question. I'm not Google, but I need to be pretty darn close.
Yeah.
And with that though too, I found the humility of letting kids know that you don't know, it goes a long way. Because there's the idea of fake it till you make it. I hate that saying, especially with kids. Because man, they can tell when you're faking it.
Sure.
So one is I'm gonna do my due diligence to know as much as I can about a subject. So when I go in there, those kids know that I'm knowledgeable and they can trust me in that knowledge. But the second part of that is when I don't know, honestly, guys, but we can look it up. And that's
sure.
The benefit of technology. One of the benefits is that quick access to information. So they can be the librarians to look at that information for me type of thing.
Speaking of quick access, cell phones.
I'm glad you brought it up.
You put them in a box when they come in the door, or is that not allowed?
Challenged. 8th grade in Challen has done this for 3 years. By the way, it's in our handbook. It's been there since I've been there. But for 3 years, what we did is, you know those calculator holders, those like numbered calculator holders?
Yeah.
For 2 years, we had the kids come in. That's where they go, okay? And when you leave, you go take them. It's that simple. Now, if the phone goes off and it's in the holder, just turn on silent. It's all good. But if we see you with the phone, or if it goes off, blah, blah, blah. This year, we're doing it the school-wide. It's really simple. Just put it in a thing, take it with you. I will say with cell phones, and it's one of those things that I think is one of the challenges of schools all around. And it's not just the distraction element. I think that's it. But the other one is, it has changed the way kids take in information. And I'm one of those people, if you're gonna complain about something, you better have a solution. Here's my solution to that. And here's how I changed my classroom to fit that. Kids are used to this. Fast information, move on to the next thing, fast information, move on to the next. They want flashy, they want entertaining. So when I first started teaching at Challen, a coworker of mine was teaching the Civil War. I'm a big Civil War guy, I like learning about the Civil War, I learned about World War II, and all these, it's very entertaining. But he taught for about 2 months. That is not how our brains work for the kids, and our clientele's brains don't work that way.
Right, not anymore.
So what I did is I took that unit that I think you could rightfully teach for 2 months to a different clientele, and I made it into 2 weeks. And I took the most important aspects of the Civil War, and I've condensed it like it's a scrolling through your phone. As a matter of fact, every single one of our units that myself and Miss Grady that I work with have come up with, they last anywhere from 2, the maximum is 4 weeks. And the reason why it's 4 weeks, it's World War II and the Holocaust. And it's kind of like 2 units in one. And what I found with that, the kids are engaged the entire time. Because if you drag those out, it's not their brain. You gotta figure out who you're teaching to. Now, in 4 years, I'm gonna have to adapt again. I might have to adapt again next year. Because with COVID, I had to adapt, right? The year now, and I would say with the whole COVID topic, I am seeing for the first time since COVID, we're getting over that hump of learned helplessness, of that, that I don't know how to do it, so we're getting over that. I'm seeing kids more willing to put the effort in. I feel so bad for the 4-year kids that have,
Sure.
gone through this, but I'm seeing the end of that light at the end of the tunnel because I think we're getting back to that routine that they missed out. But yeah. Sure. Phones, if the solution for me that is, put it somewhere, and then also realize what do those phones do to those kids? It changed the way they took information, and we need to change to adapt. We need to make sure we do it for the betterment of our kids. We have to change our methods to fit the way they take in information.
One more topic before I let you go. Artificial intelligence, has that begun to play in your classroom, or is it on the way, or have you not had to concern yourself with it?
Yes, we've had to concern ourselves recently. The chat GPT, whatever. I know I'm not much of a technology savvy person. We were just talking about this yesterday. You can get that to make a paper and then say, can you write this at a 5th grade level? And can you give me X number of spelling? So what I've done with that, and this is what I've done before, is I do writing without, check this out, I do writing without the iPad. And I do writing without a computer. And what I do is I make the kids handwrite. And you should see them the first time I do it. What? I have to, yes.
I can't do that anymore.
Because they're afraid because there's no spell check. And I go, that's fine. Sound it out, we'll get to it. And the reason why I do that, we do that all first semester. And right before we give them their first essay that they use the iPads for, we have them do an example one. And that's a template. It's also evidence. So this evidence this is where you're at. Don't be ashamed of it. This is a starting point. So when I get a paper from a kid that is saying words that I don't understand, I go, let's look at your exhibit A. Oh, this is rough. And it's not to catch them, it's to keep them honest. Because a lot of people, if you see a shortcut, and come on, all of us have been there. If you see a shortcut, sometimes you're like, man, that shortcut looks nice.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody there to keep you honest, to make sure you don't take the shortcut, then you'll do it the right way, and you'll get something from it. And that's all that is. And I think we're always going to be in that area of we have to constantly watch because they can just have somebody else do the paper for them now, and it's a interesting world we're living in.
Must make it more difficult, obviously, and more time-consuming for the teacher, just because there's so many more things you have to check closely, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, there's more boxes we have to check than we did before, and that's just the name of the game. I think one of the things is we just have to be willing to change. You're never going to be able to teach that same class the same way, 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row. You just can't. And I think that's good. I think for us to make it fun, I would actually be bored if I taught the same class the same way every year. So I think as technology grows and it changes the kids and the way they can do work, we have to change on the way we assign the work. And I think if we do that, we'll be fine.
Okay. We've been talking with Ben Snow, Benjamin, I guess, and his full first name, but Ben's okay with him, so it's okay with me. One more question. If you had to choose or had any opinions as to who might win this award from Representative Brad Fritts next year, say it's just teachers that you have worked with, who might it be?
Put me on the spot.
Yeah,
I like that.
This is the big spot.
Now, can I do kind of a cheat, and can I mention teachers that I worked with and I work with now? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, of course. I don't want to pick somebody that you don't know that well.
That's a good point too. I think one person I would say that I used to work with that I think is just one of the most stellar teachers. She was my other competitor, and I may have a bias to that, and that's Caitlin Brown. She's no longer working at St. Ed's, but she is one of those people. I call her from time to time, and we have kids the same age, so we meet sometimes. And she's the one that is keeping that bar set. And when she went to public school after private school, she was facing the same thing of like letting things slide, and I go, don't. And she wasn't going to, but we need to constantly keep ourselves in check with each other, I think, and I think she definitely get it. I think this is going to be rough from the people I work with. I think
my fault. I asked the question.
I think very shortly, within a few years, my counterpart now is going to be exactly where she needs to be. I think she's a great teacher, but there's a lot of teachers out there. I think she's going to be exactly there to get it. There's a teacher that I only got to see a couple times. He's an art teacher at Challen. His name's Scott James. And I've gone into his room a few times because I'm part of like a team that works with teachers to do things to improve the school. And every time I've gone in his class, if you want to go to a class that's just peaceful and these kids are like, he does art and like you go in there and these kids are just, they're in that zone. I've never gone in there and the kids are they're there. And he teaches sixth graders. By the time they get to me, they're still talking about the guy. So he's doing something right. But the reality of the situation is we got teachers that do amazing stuff. And it's not just the ones I see. Like I think you made a good point. There are teachers I haven't had the pleasure of meeting that are doing amazing things that I wish I could do half of which. And I'm grateful that Mr. Fritts came in to give this to me. But more important than that, he gave the kids time of day. He answered their questions, And to have somebody that's as busy as him, he's a farmer and also he's the youngest person to be in our state legislator, to sit there for 50 minutes with kids and answer questions as what frat were you in to what's the toughest thing you do as a politician, that type of thing. I think that to me means a lot. And he said something I think is really important is, regardless of political views, in order to make something better, you got to work with people. You just got to work with people. It doesn't matter, what affiliation or anything. Work with people, and that's what's going to build a better community. So appreciate him for doing it. I know he has his eye out in the 74th district to find another person to get this to, and I think it's great that he's doing this, illuminating teachers for what they're doing. It's awesome.
Super.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, Ben, thank you. And this has been this edition of Along the Rock. We'll have another one, of course, and many more after that. Hope you can join us next time right here.